I think the bigger question for the market and trying to understand where we are in our economy and what's going on in terms of supply with cars, new cars, used cars, is whether this is going to sustain itself.
Sure. So I think that's a big question. I think if you don't mind, I want to take a moment to take a victory lap and say it's our first positive quarter, and to thank all the people at Carvana that have worked so hard over the last 8 years to make that possible. 8 years ago we launched, we sold a couple hundred cars, and this quarter we sold over 100,000 cars, and this year we'll sell 1,000 times as many cars we sold that first year. And to do that and have our first profitable quarter is something that we're really, really proud of. And so thank you to everyone out there on the Carvana team. Great job. As far as where all this is going, I think this is a complicated question. I think many people have weighed in over the last year and a half, and I think so far everyone's been pretty wrong in their predictions. So I'm not super eager to add my name to that list, but I think what's really kind of driving it, the market itself in terms of volume is pretty consistent with 2019. It hasn't changed that much. What's materially different is just that there are so many fewer new cars being manufactured, and that's pushing prices up. And so I think until the supply chains of the OEMs get figured out, there's likely to be some lasting impact.
So, Ernie, there's a couple of things here, and you deserve to take a victory lap in terms of what's happened to the business, not just the tailwind of what's happened in the auto industry, but the operations unto itself. But then there's the issue of the sort of macro environment that I think we're all trying to make sense of. And when it comes to car prices, you just mentioned it, they continue to go up. Does that level off? Are you seeing more new cars coming onto the lots and that taking any business away yet? Or what are the sort of signals that you're seeing?
So, I mean, I think over the next 6 months or so, or even 12 months, I think it's hard to say. I think, Nassim Taleb has this book, Anti-Fragile. I think what we're finding out is that the OEMs have supply chains that are maybe a little more fragile than we all wish, and they've got thousands of parts that are being manufactured globally, and there's COVID waves popping up in different parts of the world. So I think that makes it really hard to predict when that will normalize again. I think the way that we try to look at it from our perspective is, roughly speaking, over the last 20 or so years, there's been 40 million used car sales every year. And this year looks a lot like 2019 in terms of total volume. If you look across all the automotive retailers and you look over a 10 or 20 year period, the margins are pretty consistent. And so we try to stay really focused on just delivering great customer experiences, making sure that we build a business that has access to more variable revenues than the rest of the industry, keep our costs down. And if we do that in the long run, we think it's all going to work out. But over the next 6 to 12 months, I think it's hard to call all the particulars.
Hey, Ernie, I just wanted to ask you, just from a customer's perspective, I bought a Jeep a couple of months ago. I went to a car dealer nearby, had a terrible experience, wanted to just pay for the car and get out the door, but ended up walking out. I went home and I checked out Carvana, and I was ready to buy a Jeep from you so I didn't have to deal with the dealers. But it was a lot more expensive, like thousands of dollars more for a used Jeep. I ended up going to another dealership an hour and a half away rather than do that. Why does it cost so much more on Carvana?
Well, that's disappointing. I'm sorry that happened, but thank you for checking us out. I think on average, we generally sell cars for around $1,000 less than dealers do. So I don't know the specifics of your situation, but that's kind of the average. And we charge no dock fees and try to make it as simple as possible. None of our cars have accidents. So any of those things could have been at play there. I'm not sure about the specifics. But again, thanks for checking us out. Maybe check us out next time and actually go through with it.